Hello everyone. I'd like to talk about how we deal with anger and aggression in children. Aggression in kids includes things such as hitting, punching, pushing, name calling, and essentially is a pattern of behaviour that often scares us as parents. Parents worry that this behaviour will lead to bullying, fighting, and generally hurting other people. It's not uncommon for small kids to be aggressive to other kids, to their friends, to their siblings, to us adults and parents. As kids get older, they usually develop better regulation skills. Although aggression is a common thing in young kids and even older kids, it's important that they learn to deal with their anger in appropriate ways. Anger is not a negative emotion. It is the behaviour that follows that is either acceptable or unacceptable. Anger provides us with energy, and kids can learn to direct their anger in positive ways by learning to be assertive. So being angry in okay ways is what is key here. We want kids to be angry in okay ways. And as parents, we can do heaps to help our kids learn to manage their anger responsibly. There's just so much we can do. And I'm going to run through some of the things that may be helpful, and I'd encourage you to just take on board what feels right to you. The one thing I would say is non-negotiable as parents is we need to model and uphold values around appropriate ways to manage anger by using our calm voice, so not shouting, and our gentle touch, no hitting or smacking. And when our kid doesn't do as they're asked, we can do lots of calm management strategies to help them calm down and reach a solution by acting on what is appropriate from your perspective. So we need to also allow all feelings in our kids. Remember that when we are angry, we don't calm down until we feel heard. So when your child expresses anger, the best thing you can do is listen and acknowledge how upset they are. You don't have to agree with the reasons that your kid is angry. Rather, we have to recognize and acknowledge that your child is angry and that they have the right to be. So you can help your child to express their feelings verbally, saying things as, "You look like you're feeling really frustrated or annoyed or grumpy," whatever the correct word is. And when the child feels those strong emotions, we actually label them for them. In that moment, don't tell your child to calm down or to act appropriately. That just makes them escalate in an attempt to get you to hear them. Instead, open the door for communication. You could say things like, "You must be so mad to speak to me that way. I want to hear about this, but tell me in a calm voice without yelling at me so I can hear." Or as a parent of an adolescent, I might say, "I can hear you're really, really angry. And when your voice is as quiet as mine, I'm really happy to listen." As us parents, it's really important to use this opportunity to show empathy towards our child, such as saying things like, "I understand, I get frustrated too when I'm learning something." Or, "It's okay, I understand, I get frustrated too when somebody takes my things," for example. And later, of course, once the child has calmed down, you can talk about appropriate words or the appropriate tone of voice. I sometimes say to kids, "You were so angry before that you yelled at me, and I always want to hear what you have to say when you're upset, and I'm always going to try to help. You don't need to yell at me to get me to listen, okay?" Usually at this point, since your child now feels heard, they're going to spontaneously apologize. I use this a lot with my adolescents, and they just really do come back and say, "Oh, sorry, Mum." Now, none of us are perfect, and I guess I will always say that we're not encouraging bad behaviour, but we want to remember that all emotions are okay. It's only the actions that need to be moderated. So when you ask kids to stuff their emotions, those feelings are no longer under conscious control, so they're going to pop out unregulated, making it more likely that they're going to have a short fuse. But if emotions are allowed and if they're validated, then the child can accept them, and instead of trying to repress them, they express them. And this gives them so much more cognitive control over their feelings, and they can then put them into words instead of hitting and hurting. And just like magic, verbal expression becomes more modulated and appropriate over time. Another thing we can do is give your child ways to manage angry impulses in the moment. So we can use games and activities and books to help kids learn to manage their anger, particularly for younger kids, and giving them it kind of almost gives them permission to pause. We can teach them strategies such as giving themselves a bear hug to stop the physiological desire to strike out by hitting or biting or pushing. And for older kids, and by this I mean primary school age kids and even our adolescents, we can try problem solving strategies such as just using a traffic light analogy. Red is for stop and to gather our feelings. Yellow is to think about our options, and green is to take action. We want to encourage our child to manage their self-talk. For example, they need to learn to say, I can stay calm, I can stand up for myself, and I can get help when that bully comes near me at school. Another way of using self-talk might be to say, I can count to 10 to think of good ways to solve the problem. We want to encourage our kids to solve their own problems where they can. So an example of that might be saying, when you are trying to colour in and your sister keeps messing up the drawing, it's really annoying, isn't it? What can we do so you can draw without being bothered by your sister? Help your child to think about it. Or if it's more complex, or if it's a more complex problem, they might want to go away and think about it overnight and come back the next day, and you could talk more about it. And, the parent might say, how about we draw up at the table where your sister can bother you less? Or how about we draw more when your sister's having a sleep? If that's a way of helping them to figure it out. And for older kids, of course, we're going to use much older examples. And we also never want to argue. We want to tell our adolescent how we feel about whatever the issue is. It's pretty hard to argue with feelings, and we don't want to be doing that. So, for example, with an adolescent, you might say, I feel uncomfortable about you going there. It would really make me feel better if you told me where you were going. Or it might be something like, please take this money for a taxi. The thought of you driving home after the party worries me. So we're helping our adolescents through problem solving. Another strategy we want to do with kids of all ages, and even for ourselves as adults, is consider our warning signs. Sometimes kids get aggressive because they're tired or hungry or unwell. And being emotionally in tune as a parent helps both you and your child. Once kids are in meltdown mode, they're in their fight or flight state. And at this point, they're unable to manage their angry impulses. And it's very hard to reach them. So all we can do is offer a safe space while the storm sweeps through them. But if you can help your child notice when they're becoming annoyed and learn to calm themselves, tantrums will reduce. When kids are little, knowing their cues and taking preventative action works best. So offering some snuggle time, having cuddles, or getting them out of a supermarket or the post office or wherever you might be. But as kids get older, you can highlight with your words what you're seeing. So I still believe in doing this with adolescents and primary school kids. And a simple statement might be, love, I can see you're getting upset. What can we do to make this better? Let's take a deep breath and work this out together. I know it's hard and you can handle this. I'm here to help. We want to offer that we're here to help because it's important to teach kids to be empathetic and to learn to focus on positive emotions. People who get angry and lash out often think of themselves first and get angry because someone is thwarting their efforts to achieve their goal. But by learning to think of others as well as oneself, kids learn to see others' perspectives and they're more able to remain calm. Another thing that we as parents can do is put limits on aggression and hold the line that violence is not okay. Allowing feelings does not mean we're allowing aggressive and hurtful actions. Kids should never be allowed to hit or to hurt others, including us parents. And when they do, they're always asking for limits. It's at these times we need to help them to be angry in okay ways and to calm down. I say to children, and I teach parents to say to children, it's okay to be angry, but hitting's not okay. And if if we're saying this to our child, if we're saying this to your very own child, we would say, it's okay to be angry, but hitting's not okay. And I will keep us all safe. Tell me how mad you are without hurting me. Some kids really need to push against something when they're angry, and it's fine to let them struggle against your holding arms if that's what they want. But don't let yourself get hurt. And also be careful to not let kids break things in their fury, because that just adds to their guilt and their sense that they're a bad person when they're calm. Your job is to be the safe container and that calming presence while you witness their anger and distress. I often believe that bringing a child in close when they're angry is helpful, but it doesn't always work. So you know your child, and you may need to get some help from a professional around this. But if your child can calm down with you when they're angry and upset, we restore their sense of safety, because we're lending them a calming presence. Remember, kids need your love most when they deserve it less. When you want to just push your child away and you've got terrible things in your mind, that's when we need to pull them in close and say the positive affirmations to them, because very quickly you'll find that your child will begin to show more self-control because they feel less helpless and alone. You don't have to say much. You can just quietly sit there. You can quietly say to them, I'm here, you're safe, I'm listening. Shh, 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 shh. Calming down. With older kids, though, of course, we're going to do that differently, and I'll cover more on teenagers in another video. Essentially, what I'm saying here is lend your calm and stay connected. Your child needs to know that you understand that you are. They need to understand that you are there to help. And if you know what's going on, acknowledge and label the feelings. Just simply say, you are so angry that your Lego broke just now. And if you don't know, say what you see. Oh, you're crying so much. I can see how upset you are. Give explicit permission to be angry, or explicit permission to be sad, or explicit permission to feel their feelings. Sorry, that's the clock in my house going right now. It's okay. What we want to say to kids is, it's okay. Everybody needs to cry or to get mad or feel very sad sometimes, and I'm going to stay right here with you while you show me your sads or your mads or whatever the feeling is. If you can touch your child and they're okay with touch, do so to maintain the connection whilst you're saying your words. And those words just might simply be, shh, 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 you're safe here, I'm here, come on. If they yell at you to go away, say, I hear you, I'm moving away. And just stay close. You know, I'm over here. I won't leave you all alone with those big feelings. I'll be here when you're ready for a cuddle or to come close or to read that book. What we want to do is redirect the energy and try to restore the calm, because kids can only learn and understand how to do it better when they're calm. And your calm presence, even when you're feeling mad, helps your child to feel safe. So sometimes we've got to fake it till we make it as parents. And that's what helps them to develop those neural pathways in their brain that shut off the fight-flight response and allow that thinking part, this frontal cortex, to the reasoning part of the brain to take over. Every parent needs to develop some emotion coaching habits that are going to help their child to feel safe and connected and help them to work through the emotional challenges that all kids encounter on a daily life. And I cover these details and strategies in my foundations and parenting the early years courses. And essentially what those courses are going to help you with strategies such as active listening and quality time and having solid routines and lots of play and laughter and loads of quality time. And there's a lot in those courses, and I would really encourage you to go and have a little look at those courses on my website, because all of these strategies, all of these things will help your child to develop their emotional intelligence and to learn to be comfortable with their feelings and in turn manage their anger constructively. As I always say, if your child remains aggressive and is causing problems at school or within your family after you've tried some of these things, you may find it helpful, again, to download parenting courses and to consult with a clinician who assists with parents in their parenting. Thank you for subscribing and liking and sharing and watching this, and I wish you a very happy afternoon.